Hello everybody, welcome to the first episode of the Nature is Healing podcast. A podcast about raw food, healing, nutrition, longevity, spirituality and consciousness. I'm the host, Anthony Barnao, and this first episode is going to be about how to heal Inflammatory Bowel Disease, IBD, naturally. This includes ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. So I've just written a 5-step guide on how to heal IBD naturally, and this episode is going to go over the 5 fundamental principles and steps for regaining health and vitality from the depths of inflammatory bowel disease. So I will make this link absolutely available for you to download, and it's free. And I start off by talking about perception about disease that we are experiencing, because I believe that by changing our perspective about what our body is going through, then we are able to see that nature's not working against us ever, and our immune systems aren't attacking ourselves. That everything in nature has a purpose and function, and we just need to support that. So the first step is acknowledging that your body can heal itself, and I think that's huge because for some reason people believe in that, like cancer and diseases are just going to completely take over us, and that our bodies have no ability to heal themselves. But yet we can heal wounds completely fine, and some organs can replace their cells and regenerate. So the body is self-healing, and we need to trust that there is a reason why the body is behaving like it is behaving. So when we experience mucus, it's produced to reduce inflammation in the gut lining, because the gut lining has become overly acidic, and therefore it becomes ulcerated and starts to bleed. And then what happens is it's no longer able to absorb the nutrients like it should be. So the mucosal response by the body is to combat highly acidic environment that is being produced on the gut layer. But the reason there's this acid buildup is because these acids aren't able to drain properly. And the reason is because the way that the body deals with acids is it uses the lymphatic system to get rid of acids out of the body. And the lymphatic system is a lipid-based system. So, but what happens is the lymphatic system can become blocked, especially in the intestinal tract. So the whole intestinal tract is filled with lymph nodes, and these lymph nodes are what transport fats from your digestion ultimately, eventually into your bloodstream, but they go through the lymphatic system, and all the fats go through the lymph nodes. But what happens is, from years of eating food that doesn't digest efficiently, the undigested starches and proteins build up and create a thick layer on the intestinal tract, and this thick layer plucks up. And the reason this happens is because when we specifically eat starches and proteins at the same time, the digestive enzymes that our body produces to digest a starch or a protein, they actually cancel each other out when we digest these foods at the same time. So they don't even get digested. So they just start to putrefy in the gut. And the way, so this builds up along the gastrointestinal tract. And so usually the way the body deals with this is through other organisms like bacteria and fungus will come in to digest this undigested food. I personally like to think about it as most humans are like composting bins. But the composting process is being extremely inefficient because the food's not being digested at all, and then we have to have all this bacteria to come in to do all the work. But what happens specifically with inflammatory bowel disease is everything becomes so plucked up and inflamed, so the bodies can't absorb any fat anymore in the digestive system, and it's all inflamed, so it can barely absorb any nutrients, and so a lot of people lose a lot of weight. And so at that point the body has no choice to just start getting rid of it all. So it goes into this emergency mode of detoxing itself, where it's trying to get rid of all this excess matter out of the digestive system, but it's so plucked up and thick that it's just caked on, so it can't really do much. And the body just keeps trying to get rid of everything, so it won't even let you keep anything. But you're not even able to digest anything. So basically this is why the body's having constant bowel movements during an IBD flare. Is it's trying to get rid of everything that's obstructing the body. It's at a point where it just can't take any more. The body is trying to save itself, and this whole process is completely natural for the circumstances that the body's in. So therefore, we need to support this process and not suppress it with medication. So the key to healing the gastrointestinal tract is to create the most alkaline environment or terrain as possible, to hydrate the body, and then to clear out the whole lymphatic system. So by initially leaving out fiber, we can give the whole gastrointestinal tract a chance to heal itself. So if you are in the middle of a violent flare and you're trying to eat food and it's not working and it's just, red blood. I mean, I've experienced it where it's just red blood all day, just to the point where, it's just blood, So I understand. But, I've been able to heal it. So I've healed, my story is quite complex, but I've been able to heal 3 flares naturally. But my issue is I've always gone back to eating addictive foods, and then the addictive foods have led me into more addictive foods. So this is what I'm going to get into next. But before I do, I just want to summarize that healing the body is possible through constant energy and hydration to each cell, and the proper elimination for each of these cells of the cellular waste. So this clears all the pathways for the flow of energy of blood, nerve, and lymph. And again, just to understand that the body is self-healing and that the immune system isn't attacking itself. It's trying to protect itself. So, food addiction. So, what I realized is that all cooked food is addictive, and if you don't believe me, then stop eating cooked food and tell me how it goes. But when we cook food, in our body, when we digest food, all food, it has a chemical byproduct, and particularly when we cook food, it can have acidic ash forming byproducts, basically, chemically in the body. So, therefore, especially proteins are highly acidic forming, acidic ash forming in the body. So, so eating cooked food takes a lot of energy for the body to digest, and it creates extra acid for the body to have to get rid of, and this can build up over time. And so the eating cooked food is slightly damaging to the body, and that's eating like healthy cooked food, but obviously there's a lot of unhealthy cooked food out there. So we have salt, oil, deep fried, processed sugars, and these things are really addictive. So really everything in the supermarket, anything that's not a whole food like a fruit or a vegetable, is really not food if it's like processed in any way. And you have to think about, if you were an animal, or you are an animal, but if you're an animal in the wild and you're looking for food, you're going to eat food that smells good and looks good and tastes good, and so that makes complete sense. And I feel like we've been deceived, like our senses have been deceived by these food companies, where they've kind of taken advantage of our instincts. It seems like a lot of food we eat, it doesn't actually supply us with nutrients. It just leaves us wanting more. Like, we have people who are overweight who just can't stop eating. They can never seem to get the nutrients because the food that they're eating is empty and devoid of what they're really craving. They're constantly eating like processed sugar, but really what they need is fructose for the brain, or glucose through carbohydrates. So we have a lot of highly addictive food, and addictions can be really dangerous, and this is what happened to me. Like, basically from eating, the last flare that triggered for me was from eating a hamburger and some French fries, like a vegan hamburger. So I call it vegan junk food. And what happens when you eat addictive food is you have to, with all addictions, there's no just one event. It's like, well, for some people will deal with it better. So it's really up to you how you deal with food and your relationship to it. For me, I just can't do addictive things. So for me, just no processed food, just raw food. So the reason that you're sick is because we've been deceived and we've been lied to about what food really is by these companies, whose interests are in making profits, and their interests are not in making healthy people. So, if it's not a whole food, then it's not food, and it's that simple. So, we also need to consider that every species on this planet has been eating a raw food diet, since the beginning of life on Earth, and we've only been, in charge of cooking our food, for it's a really debatable about when we started cooking food. It's hard to go into, but it's either between a million years ago and now, and it's still very debatable. So we'll get into that when we got some research in front of us in another episode. But so you could say that most diseases are in fact evidence that animal-based cooked food and even vegan junk food diets are unhealthy for the Homo sapien. Just the reason, we're so sick these days. We have all these diseases, cancers, everything, and it all is because of the chemistry that we are putting into our bodies, essentially. And also, all the nutrients that humans gain from animals, eating meat and dairy, the animals all get that from plants. So it just it makes sense to just go straight to the source. And the other factor is that when we cook food, it is enzyme deficient. So that means that we have to use our body's enzymes to break it down. So our pancreas. So in the case of fat, we have a fat emulsifier, which means breaks down the fat, and that's lipase. And the pancreas produces lipase, produces amylase, which we use to break down carbohydrates, and we also have protease, which we use to, which is the digestive juice that we use to break down protein, and it's all from the pancreas. And the pancreas produces about 1.5 liters of these digestive juices a day. So it has a limited supply. So when we cook food, we have a limited supply of digestion. We also have digestive juices in our mouths, obviously, that we start with digestion. So we have limited supply of digestion. So, if we eat too much cooked food, it's not going to be digested at all, which is potentially an issue. Whereas when you eat raw food, the raw food is enzyme-rich food, so it can basically almost digest itself, especially with a lot of fruit. It just is extremely easy for us to digest, and most raw living hydrated food, fruit and vegetables, are all alkaline ash forming foods, so they don't have any acid byproducts or metabolite waste products. So it's extremely easy for our bodies to digest and deal with. And obviously fruits digest extremely quickly in the body and take very little energy. So, it doesn't make you feel tired when you eat uncooked food. It gives you energy. So if we are eating cooked food, most of it that we put inside our body is in fact not digested, and therefore putrefies and rots, and bacteria and fungus come in to consume it, and these organisms then produce their acids and waste on top of your own metabolic acid waste, and all this acid can build up and begin to destroy your cells. So when we deprive these organisms of their usual diet of cooked food, they make us really uncomfortable. So it can be really hard to transition. But when you've gone through, a month of diarrhea of blood and everything, can't eat any more food, you're ready for the transition. So the other factor is that specifically when we digest protein, it's highly acid ash forming, and then this to compensate for the acid ash, the body pulls the calcium out of the body to deal with this, to balance it out. And calcium is specifically a vital component of the structure of gut tissue. So protein consumption and gut tissue are intimately connected. Basically, the more protein you eat, the less calcium you have available for a healthy gut tissue. So it's a big deal. And so we have all the fats and oils that are absorbed via the lymph nodes throughout the gastrointestinal tract. And by removing fat and oil from the diet, this is going to be the most effective tool that we can have for dealing with inflammatory flare-up. And then, so the next, these addictive foods are basically making us sick. And, the quicker we can get off these addictive foods and transition to, raw living foods, the healthier our body's going to become. And this health is going to become sustainable and, will give you long-term health. So that was what I consider the first step, which is a bit of a long spiel, but it's so important to kind of reframe our perception about what is going on with our body, what health is, and why we're sick, and how we got to that point, and realize it's not our faults. We've been lied to and then been given addictive food, and we're almost helpless, and it's really sad. But we can empower ourselves and fix this and give ourselves the best health that we've ever had in our entire lives, which is extremely valuable. So step 2 is all about removing fiber from our diet initially. And the reason is to give the gastrointestinal tract a chance to heal itself. So depending on your level of malnourishment, some people will be really skinny, some people may have had a bit of weight on them and have lost a lot of weight, still have some fat. So, basically the fat on your body is just stored, it's glycogen, it's stored glucose. Your liver stores it all because it's like, wow, I've got a lot of this, I don't need it. I mean, it gets more complicated because, some people's metabolism will be able to use it all way more efficiently, but what happens is when the endocrine system doesn't function properly, then body uses energy in suboptimal ways, and you'll become tired, but you'll be still putting on weight and all these crazy things. But so anyway, if we remove fiber from our diet initially, and we make cold pressed juices to give ourselves all the vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes water, everything we need, then we can completely give if it's ulcerative colitis, you're giving the large colon a break. And if it's Crohn's, then you're giving the small intestines a break. But so the other benefit is, these ulcers are heavily connected with the it's interstitial fluid that of the lymphatic system that's backed up, so it's unable to get rid of these acids from your cells. Your cellular the metabolic waste of these cells is unable to drain properly, and it's built up. So obviously if we're having fibre, it's it's going to be scraping past these ulcers and these open wounds, and it's going to be causing a lot of pain and trouble. So if we cut it out just until the bleeding stops and the ulcers heal up, then we'll give ourselves a chance. And for some people it can take a couple of weeks, just juices, and some people can take a couple of months, some people can take 3 months, 6 months, but for me it was very quick, a couple of weeks, and I can stop all the bleeding. And the key is, especially with ulcerative colitis, so what happens is usually when you eat fibre, the fibre goes into your colon, and the fibre, there's good bacteria in the colon that break down the bacteria. They produce short chain fatty acids, and these short chain fatty acids are anti-inflammatory, and these fatty acids usually they get absorbed back into the body. All the B vitamins are produced by the bacteria in our gut. So it's a two-way street, the colon. Like there's absorption, and there's a lot of water gets absorbed in the colon, but there's also obviously it's a waste. It's where the waste comes in. So it's a very complicated system, and it's very misunderstood, and it has everything to do with our mental health, and it is usually extremely bad in most people, degraded, and because the food we eat is so bad. So the key is to make the colon as alkaline as possible, because the bacteria in the gut usually produce they have their own acidic waste as well. So the colon can become acidic, especially if the food that we're eating is highly acid forming, proteins, for example. So we want to make the colon as alkaline as possible. So the key is to focus on cold pressed juices that are extremely alkaline. So I've done a lot of research into this, but the best ones are as follows: celery juice, apple juice, grape juice, watermelon, cucumber, and carrot juice. Now, these 6 juices are all very alkaline, and the best thing to do with these juices is to have them by themselves. So, for example, the last flare that I healed, my daily juice schedule would be I'd have a celery juice in the morning, and some people will mix their celery with grape or apple, but I like to have it just by itself, because eventually you grow to absolutely love it. But celery is extremely alkaline forming in the colon, and it has lots of benefits, especially for the lymphatic system and many other things. But so start the day with the celery juice, and then I would have a watermelon juice, and I'd have maybe a litre to a litre and a half, and that would be like maybe my lunch, I guess. And then in the afternoon, you could have a cucumber juice or a cucumber apple juice or an apple juice or a grape juice. And then, you just do that again. You just have another one. You could have, for dinner, you could have a grape juice or an apple juice or apple celery juice or apple cucumber or a grape cucumber or a grape celery. My favourite at the moment is grapes, but I had a lot of fun on watermelons. But whatever's accessible. Like for some people, they live in cold climates, so celery, apples, great one. Grapes in the summertime, cucumbers, carrots, they're pretty good. But I prefer the fruit. But carrots are good as well. But you don't want to overdo carrots because they can make you go orange and all sorts of problems. So so juicing is going to allow us a break from fiber, protein, complex starches like potatoes and stuff. All that stuff, it's really hard for the body to digest, and especially if you have ulcerative colitis. It's potentially not. There's other issues, like maybe your pancreas isn't functioning as well as it should and is unable to digest food, and that's causing the food to just putrefy more in the gut. So it's a lot of factors that are involved, and or maybe it's your kidneys aren't able to get rid of the acidic waste efficiently. So if you've got weak kidneys, then the acids will build up in your body. So it's been shown that the average person will have about 8 kilograms of decomposing food in their colon. So it's just most people's colons are in really bad shape, and so when you juice, you're going to get rid of all this kind of unnecessary waste. Give your colon a chance to completely reset itself and heal itself, And the other thing that I've come across just recently is that I found a bunch of studies that show that people who have ulcerative colitis have high candida growth rates in their bowels. I think it was something like between 70% to 86% of patients had it in their first year, and then and it was like 70% ongoing. So yes, so there's definitely a fungal connection to inflammatory bowel disease, which is quite fascinating. So we would have good results by eliminating fungus out of our bodies. So juicing is a great way to do this. The key is with juicing is to keep it alkaline and not do the acidic fruits. And, like you don't want to be consuming lemons, or oranges, these kinds of things. So and the celery juice is great because it's high in sodium. So the brain needs mineral salts to function. So the celery juice provides a lot of electrolytes that we need, these mineral salts. But the problem is when we begin juicing, the body starts to clean itself. It's a certain level of detoxification that's going on, and this can cause certain symptoms. So we have to be aware that we might not feel amazing when we first start this process, but eventually, and I can attest to this, once the colon is completely cleaned out and you get rid of all the black sludge that's in there, you feel the most incredible you've ever felt in your life, and I promise you that. But to get there through the cleaning process of the colon, you are going to have potentially cold and flu symptoms, emotional ups and downs. There's a lot of crying involved, a lot of releasing, and the body is cleaning out parts of itself that have never been cleaned before. So it's all happening. So yeah, you want to support that detoxification process, but once you stop bleeding, once the pain goes away, you can move to the next step, which is reintroducing some fiber. But my advice at this step is to move on to like the more soluble fibers. So we're talking about bananas being the best, most useful food at this point. So the best thing to do is to make a smoothie of like a banana smoothie with water and bananas. In Southeast Asia, they call it banana juice. And it is the best because you get really ripe spotted bananas and you make a banana juice. And if it's not the Cavendish bananas, the mass-produced boring bananas, if you can get organic bananas or you can get real bananas, that aren't, just commercial, that taste good, then oh my god, banana juice is amazing. And bananas are like extremely healing for the gut, and once they get into the colon, they're creating these short chain fatty acids, and they're anti-inflammatory, so they're really wonderful. So another great blended meal that you could do is a papaya smoothie. Papayas are fantastic. So just papaya and water would be amazing. But or you could just eat papaya, eat banana. But the thing about eating these fruits is they don't have high water content, and we need to hydrate the body as much as possible to to get energy and circulation to every single cell, and to be able to get rid of all the waste that's built up. So we want water with our banana, water with our papaya. The next smoothie we could make is a watermelon smoothie. So we do not need to add any water to a watermelon smoothie. So they're incredible. So the idea about making these smoothies is that we're making it easier for our body to digest this fiber that we're now reintroducing. But yeah, the key is with banana, it's so anti-inflammatory. It's a really it's the ideal one to introduce, and we can sweeten things up with dates. So you could add a couple of dates to your papaya or banana smoothie. And we can also do like a pear smoothie, blended pears, or an apple smoothie, or apple sauces. They're like incredible, and you can just live off, you could live off just bananas and applesauce, the key is to keep it really simple for your body, just eating one food at a time is going to be the most helpful for your digestion, because, you don't want to create too many digestive juices and enzymes happening. You just want simple. You can also do two at a time. So you could do a banana papaya, or you could do a banana and apple. You could do maybe you could do banana with apple juice. Could be nice, but if you want to make it just a smoothie, if you're happy to do it, then you could do banana and a grape smoothie. I know that could be kind of weird, but and you could also do a banana coconut, but the coconut water is slightly acidic, so it just depends on how well you're healed. But so because the reason that this food is so perfect for us is because we are primates, or we come from the family of primates, and primates are predominantly frugivores. So if you're thinking about as a species and genetically what's the best food that suits our species, it's it's going to be fruit. That's what our ancestors have been eating for millions of years, and for some reason we decided that we we should be in control of what we eat and move beyond our instincts. But if we think about what our instincts tell us, our species have always been fruit eaters, and we've always lived on the equator eating fruit, and that's why we're essentially naked. And as we've moved out of the equator and into these other regions, our diets have shifted and now and created quite a situation that we have today. So if we focus on slowly introducing fiber into our diet, focusing on the non-soluble fibers and keeping it mono or just a couple of fruits at a time, and eventually things start improving, and then we can start mixing in more acidic fruit. So eventually you can start making banana, mango, coconut, banana berry smoothies, banana, mango, pineapple. Pretty cool stuff. So I'm going to go into that with the next step, which is step 4. And don't worry, there's only 5 steps, so I promise there's not too much longer to go. But this is a very important podcast to get out because people are suffering and they're confused and they don't understand what's going on with their bodies, and they don't understand how to fix things, and they don't understand why things got this way. It's because biologically our bodies are suited to eating fruit. I'm not saying you have to eat fruit for the rest of your life. I'm just saying biologically we're best suited for it, and therefore lean into that, because that's what's going to heal your body. The hydration, the fructose. There's a study that came out that shows that the brain converts glucose into fructose for energy. So if you think about energy as like a hierarchy, like if we're eating, we get our energy from carbon, and sugar is like extremely simple carbohydrate, and we have like far more complex carbohydrates, which is getting into like starches, things like that. And it takes a lot more energy for us to digest complex carbohydrates than it does for fructose. And the other incredible thing about fructose is that for our body to use it, we don't need to use insulin. Like when we digest other more complex carbohydrates, our body turns that into glucose, and then for our cells to be able to utilize that glucose, we need to produce, the pancreas has to produce insulin. But with fructose, we don't need to produce any insulin, so there's no burden on the pancreas for digestion and use of that energy. So there is a lot of good reasons to be eating fruit. So hopefully once at this next step 4, the bowel has healed to a good enough level where you can eat fiber and there's no blood, there's no mucus. And the best part about this guide is that you can move back and forward. So if you introduce a bit of fruit and things don't work and you're having negative symptoms, you can move back into the smoothies, the mono meals, or the fresh juicing. I mean, I personally would suggest just keeping up the cold press juicing every day. Include a smoothie every day, and then introduce some fruit on top of that. So that's incorporating all the steps. And step one is all about just remembering that you can do this, that it's possible, and that, and just, going back to the blueprint, of like how this works, why this works. So, it can take a year for some people's, gastrointestinal tissue to regenerate itself. A year, 2 years. So it's really important that we stick to this diet while we're healing, and just see it through, because this is what happened to me, and this is why I'm bringing this up, is you start eating some raw you start eating food again, so you start having maybe a little bit of cooked food again, and then one thing leads to another, and the next thing you know, you're eating French fries, and then you're eating deep fried, and then maybe you just get sucked in a bit, and then bam, the chemistry changes in your body, and then bam, symptoms come back, bam, you're bleeding again, bam, 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 back at square one. Your body's way worse off than it was the last time, and this can because it just leads to deeper tissue degeneration, and then you can get tumours and cancer. And this is what happened to me. This is my I've been through 4 flares in my life, like serious flares, like blood, can't walk, can only lie down, just everything, just can't eat, just the whole thing. And the more this happens, then you get cancer, bowel disease, and colorectal cancer is like considered fatal. Basically, it's the biggest killer of all the cancers. So we can all be reversed, but we just have to be really careful about understanding that cooked food is addictive and it can lead down that path. So it's a lot easier if you stick to raw food, because you don't you're not dealing with addictive foods, because then the raw foods aren't addictive. So when we're feeling better, then we can move to the more acidic fruits, but the key is especially with fruit, is we have to consider the fruit combining. We have to consider food combining more general. Understanding the chemistry involved with our digestion, and what foods have different chemistries involved, and how we can combine them. So, I'll just quickly go over the fruits, the different categories of fruits. So we have sweet fruits, sub-acid fruits, acid fruits, melons, and berries. So the sweet fruits we would consider bananas, dates, coconut, figs, persimmons, raisins, and durian, I think is a sweet fruit. So then we have the sub-acid fruits. So we have apples, apricots, nectarines, cherries, grapes, peaches, pears, oranges, mango, papaya, plums, blueberries. So those are sub-acid fruits. And then we have the acid fruits, which are your grapefruit, your kiwis, your lemons, limes, strawberries, pineapples, pomegranates, maybe an unripe orange. Then we have melons, so watermelon, honeydew, cantaloupe. And then we have berries. blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, etc. So these are the different categories of fruits, and then it's all about how we combine them. So, for example, you can eat sweet fruit and subacid fruit together, and they will digest perfectly fine. Bananas and apples, apples and dates, fine. Grapes and bananas. Blueberries, bananas, mangoes, bananas, all good. So they're all fine to combine, and we can also combine sweet fruit with berries. So we can have, blackberries with bananas, blueberries and bananas, raspberries and bananas, or coconut. So that's all good. And then another combination we can do is subacid and acid fruits. So you can have your strawberries and apples together, or your pineapple and apples, or your pears and oranges, or your kiwis, kiwi fruit, apricot, apples, grapes, can all be together. Strawberries, grapes, so this is all provided in a diagram in the free PDF. And then, so the only other thing to consider next is that melons should always be eaten by themselves and never combined with anything. And a lot of people make this mistake, but you should always digest melons alone. The other combination is you can have berries with all the acid fruits. So you can have strawberries and blueberries, blackberries. You can have it with pineapple, or kiwi fruit, or pomegranate, or oranges. But the sweet fruit and acid fruit should never go together. So you shouldn't put banana and pineapple together, or you shouldn't put strawberries and bananas together. So but a lot of it is, if you're sticking to monomeals, you're going to have the best of luck, but a lot of it you want to experience for yourself, but the best thing to do is to just try 2 together, and then maybe 2 or 3, but you just generally want to stick to some sort of keep it in mind that some fruits are not going to digest very well together. And I also want to mention the non-sweet fruits, very important. We have cucumber, tomato, avocado, and bell peppers. They're fruits, technically. Any any plant that's producing these fruits, basically, it's going to be considered a fruit. And so I have an example here of what maybe if you want to have a raw salad, you could have potentially have some leafy greens with tomato. You could have potentially cucumber or zucchini noodles with bell peppers and maybe some mango or avocado and some carrot and some sprouts maybe. And for a sauce, you could have be mango / avocado or cucumber, zucchini or date. You could mix it up. So that is step 4 is fruit, eating fruit and combining fruits. And the last step is step 5 is integrating cooked vegetables. So I do not recommend eating cooked food, but I understand everybody's addicted to eating cooked food, and it's really hard to, it's addictive, and it's really hard for people to get off it. So I understand it, and I read the Self-Healing Guide for Healing Crohn's and Colitis. It's a book you can buy, and it's by David Klein. And he promotes a raw food lifestyle, but he also promotes how to combine cooked food in a way that's going to be optimal for best digestion. And so that's what I'm going to go into now. So, it can take several months for the microbiome to shift from your old diet, so it's always going to be extremely uncomfortable. And the detoxing process can make you feel uncomfortable as well. So I can understand that this whole diet can seem to be a bit crazy and making you feel a bit weird, but it's actually the best diet for you that you could be doing for your body at this point of time. But as your body gets over all this old food over the coming months, you do feel much better, much better. But yeah, I just warn against eating cooked food because it can lead to addictive and destructive eating habits, and I just think that needs to be taken into consideration. So obviously cooking food, it destroys the nutrients, some of the nutrients and the enzymes, and then it makes it a lot harder for us to digest, and the pancreas can only produce so much digestive enzymes per day, so it's not the optimal diet. And a good suggestion would be to combine raw food and cooked food if you're going to do it. So when it comes to cooked food and food combining, we have starches, which are complex carbohydrates, so potatoes, sprouted grains, squash and yams. We have proteins, which are beans and legumes and nuts and seeds and olives, and I don't recommend any of those. And then we have non-starchy vegetables, so we have asparagus, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, celery, chard, collard, cucumber, eggplant, green beans, kale, lettuce, parsley, spinach, sweet pepper, turnips and zucchini. They're pretty good because they're not so starchy. And then we have the mildly starchy vegetables, so your beets, your carrots, cauliflower, corn and peas. So you can combine your starches and your vegetables, so your non-starchy vegetables, so that's completely fine. Potatoes and broccoli is going to work, and you can even include non-sweet fruit, so your cucumber, tomato. You can eat protein with your non-starchy vegetables, so you can have beans and broccoli, and that'll be okay. So, but what is not recommended is protein and starches, and the reason is protease is acidic digestive in product, and amylase is alkaline, has an alkaline enzyme, and the acidic enzyme for protease and amylase, they cancel each other out, so you don't get any digestion when you have proteins and starches, and that's a big problem. And trying to eat fruit and vegetables is a big no-no, so you should never do that, and you should never eat fruit after you've eaten vegetables, cooked vegetables I should say. And the best practice is to eat cooked food with raw food at the same time, and then at least you've got some enzymes there to help digest. So we've come a long way. It's been an incredible journey, and there's still a lot to go into, and we will get into it in the future, but I just wanted to start by just giving you an outline and a bit of a description about these 5 steps. So for healing IBD naturally. And so the only other thing I haven't covered here is immunosuppressant medication and how to transition off it. So if you are on immunosuppressants, you should stop them, because they are usually sulfur drugs, and they're suppressing your immune system, and they just suppressing your lymphatic system essentially. But it just means you're just filling your body with sulfur, which is attracting fungus, which is making you crave fungal foods. So breads and yogurts and all sorts of stuff. Not recommended. But anyway, so immunosuppressants aren't great. But yeah, so you can, if you want to start at step 5, where you're eating cooked vegetables, you just slowly change your diet and transition to plant-based food. Remove the proteins, remove the fats and oils. Could be a good place to start. If there's any problems that arise as the body's trying to detoxify and clear itself, maybe you are getting a lot of uncontrollable diarrhea, but maybe it's just mucus or something, or maybe it's a little bit of blood. But then you can move to the smoothies or the mono meals, make things a bit easier. Or if you get off your meds and things go super violent, you can definitely go on the juices and remove the fiber. So you can just move up and down through the steps as you need. Yeah, so this has been the Nature is Healing podcast, and I have been your host, and Anthony Barnao, and I'm really looking forward to making some more episodes in the future. And I'm really also looking forward to getting some guests on who have also healed inflammatory bowel disease or other gastrointestinal issues related to fungus as well. I'm really looking to expand and grow this. So please reach out to me if you liked listening to this, and if you have any questions. And at this stage I'm really happy to just help people as much as possible. So I'm here to help, and follow me on Instagram at Nature is Healing Me, all one word. And and of course the most important thing is if you want to download the free ebook, it'll be linked wherever this is posted, and but you can also find it on my Linktree /Nature is Healing Me. I will talk to you next time. It's been so much fun. Thanks everybody. See ya.